You have like 30 seconds left, so you got plenty of time.
Okay.
You got long legs. You got long legs.
Get the clock on here.
It's the right time.
Jim, would you like to lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. I
Pledge
pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Welcome to the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. It's October 19th, 2020. Before we get started, I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda it'd be F1 Commission. Do I have a second?
As the chair, it's your prerogative to add items, but
I thought we had to have a motion to do that.
what is it that you were adding?
Well, I want to make a motion to discuss current health orders.
I'm sorry, what was, I missed, you're adding what?
I would like to add an item to discuss current health orders.
Okay.
To add an item at this point, you need a motion in a second.
Okay.
No second? All right. Motion died.
Okay.
All right. What's first?
Okay, item 1, proclamations, presentations. Number 1, Family Park Master Plan Presentation Update, HTK.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. As you know, we're right in the middle of our Family Park Master Plan process, and I've got Zach Sneathens with HDK here today to kind of fill you in on what we've done to this point, share some concepts with you, and talk to you about what we're going to do from here on out. And with that, I'll turn it over to Zach.
Thank you. Good morning. Zach Sneathens, HDK Architects. As Tim mentioned, here today, this morning, to give an update on the efforts towards the Family Park Master Plan and begin to share some concepts as we go out to the community with a second survey seeking feedback on these concepts. Last time we were here was back in the end of July and shared this schedule that you have up on the screen of the process that we're going through. And if kind of the end goal of this again is to develop a master plan for the Family Park property out south of town. And we're right now kind of still on schedule, middle of October. Some of the activities that we've done initially, we've got feedback from the community, input on amenities and things that they would like to see out at the park. From that, we have led and organized a workshop with County Parks and Rec staff to develop some of the concepts that you'll see here today. And at this point, and at the end of the meeting, we're kicking off that next round of community feedback to really start to share these concepts with the community, get their input, get their interests, see what they like, what they don't like about them, as we work towards developing that final master plan concept that'll be put forth with budgets and overall concept to it. So just to step back, within that first survey, when we went out to the community, we had over 1,500 people respond to that survey. A couple of the main questions that we asked within those surveys are what kind of amenities would you like to see in the park, as well as what kind of programming, if you were to think about programming that might be able to be offered there, what kind of programming opportunities might be able to, or might you like to see there. Within the amenities category that the community shared, a lot. You can see in the graph there kind of a pie chart of where all those interests lie, everything from park and just general park space, picnic space, natural areas, gardens, fishing ponds, some, as we get around in the graph, some more specific sport interest groups or more specific interest groups, but really a pretty diverse section of interests that people are interested in. And as you look at, and as we compare this, or how Gage Park and Lake Shawnee are, and thinking this is the next kind of destination park in the community, it's really, you look at all those and have the diversity of offerings as well as activities and programming that's offered there. Back in September last month, as I mentioned, we held a workshop with County Parks and Rec staff, and that workshop is where these concepts came from. That workshop and the input that we received from those surveys all guided the development of these concepts. It was a day-long workshop. We engaged staff in the morning. The design team of HDK Landworks and Cook Platt and Strobel worked throughout the day, and then at the end of the day produced 3 concepts that we then discussed and had some immediate feedback with staff on. And then the concepts that you'll see today they've been kind of redrawn and made to look all equal, or made to look the same. So those are the concepts that came out of this workshop that will be going out to the community. And then jump over to this other one to show those. So the 3 concepts that we have, and they're on the screen. We've got boards out in the lobby there, as well as they'll be within the survey, and they're also on the Parks and Rec homepage has a special link to these concepts, so people can dive in and start to look at these concepts. So there's 3 concepts, and I'll just give you a brief kind of rundown of each of the concepts. To orient you, up in the right-hand corner is 21st and Urish, where the Midwest Aquatics Park is. That is kind of the sort of the corner of this park, and then everything west, and then down south to the edge of the golf course. Some of the similar amenities that exist in all of these are trail systems that go throughout the park. There's different concepts of playground and kind of adult fitness areas within areas of the park. Several of the concepts show a kind of a great lawn, a space where you could have gatherings for concerts or other kind of festivals. They utilize the kind of capture a lot of the natural tree swale that runs through the middle of the park, utilizing, trying to capture, build upon some of the water, the stormwater that flows through there, and are we able to capture that and make it something that can be enjoyed. Concepts of dog parks within these concepts, different levels of trails between paved trails, more single track kind of off-road trails that cut through the site. Concepts do show some pickleball courts down here on the east end of the property. So that was one of the concepts. The second concept, again, some similar amenities, that great lawn here, pickleball courts, different trail systems that loop throughout the facility. They all currently on site, kind of in the middle to the western edge is the golf course maintenance facility. It sits kind of right in the middle. All of these concepts look at how that facility relocates within this property to continue serving the golf course as well as serve this park. This one, the playground features kind of wrap this great lawn area and some other playgrounds sprinkled throughout. Again, you'll see trails that run throughout the park, both hard multi-use trails as well as single track trails that cut through the park. And then the third concept, again, similar components of a great lawn, playground area, trails. Concept, they all have, well, concepts 1 and 3 have the idea of a kind of an event space there that could serve events at the park, potentially could serve some aspects of the golf course as well. Concept 3 differs from the other ones in that it creates a kind of a parkway. They all have vehicle access into the park off of 21st Street and off of Urish. This concept here connects that, makes that kind of a parkway, tree-lined parkway throughout the park that would connect 21st Street and Urish. That is one of the main differences between this and the other two concepts. But as we go back and as we look at the feedback that was received from the first survey, and then discussions that we had with staff during the workshop, is really looking at capitalizing on how can we maximize the open space, maximize park space for the community in these concepts. And so kind of today is just that unveiling of these concepts, but then I'll get to my last slide in this other presentation. But then kicking off kind of that, the next survey where we'll go out and we'll seek input from the community, ask them what concepts they like, what they like about the concepts, what they don't like about the concepts. Are there things that they would like to see added to these concepts? But really just taking those concepts out and getting input, feedback from the community on them through a similar format, survey format that goes live today and will be live through November 10th. And then from that, we will take that information and use that to start to inform and develop the final concepts to bring back forward to you guys later in the year. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And Tim, I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add to that?
No, I just want to thank Zach for being here, and I think he did a great job of explaining the process. And yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
You have any questions? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the survey that's sending out, it would be getting impact or input from the public on those three concepts as to which they prefer or what their preference is?
Correct.
Okay.
They'll also be able to comment on not only which one they prefer, but are there amenities that they would like to see in the park that aren't listed, and then just give general comments.
I think that there probably also needs to be some discussion in the public. Are we going to be taking this on as one action to do the entire park at one time, or will it be a phased approach? I mean, at Gage Park, we take a phased approach with projects. Hillcrest was a phased approach over several years. Lake Shawnee was a phased approach over several years. Even when we talk about Oakland and addressing Oakland Community Center, we talk about it as a phased approach over several years. Would we anticipate that also being with this case?
Yeah, I do anticipate that being the case here. I think, especially when you look at these concepts that we've provided, they're what can be, and I think that would take many years to get to that point. I think with the funds that we have discussed, we would absolutely be doing a phased-in approach.
And so then this is just a master plan laying out the guideline for however long it takes to finish the project?
Correct.
Okay. I think that's important to clarify for the public, that it's not going to be just all the money and all the endeavors just put into this one park and not doing anything else with any other parks.
Yes.
But this is setting up the master plan for the guideline.
Absolutely.
I think too, though, it's clear that this is the main focus for this funding is for this park and to establish this community park. We don't want to spread the money so thin that this project doesn't look like anything at the end of the day. We need to do something substantial out there.
That might be a reason for public input, too.
Okay.
I guess to clarify my point would be that even if we spent all of the money that we've talked about, I don't think we could complete any of those three concepts with that amount of money. So yes, if we used it all, we could get a long way towards achieving that goal, but regardless, there'll be some phasing, just depends how much.
I realize that, but I think it's good to have a roadmap for the future too,
Yes.
for anything you do phase in. Yeah,
Yes, I agree, 100%.
I understand. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
Yeah. Could you explain for the public what a pump track is?
Well,
I know we talked about that before, but I figured I'd see if you had a great answer now.
Yeah, to me, and I'm certainly no expert in this area, but a pump track is a smaller version of a BMX facility. It's sort of I kind of liken it to a skateboard park for BMX bikes. I think that's generally what it is. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's my understanding. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah. Okay.
Would that be similar to what we have at Crestview?
I think that I think that a pump track could actually be a little smaller than what we have at Crestview. But there has been, I'll be honest, there's been discussion about whether a pump track is the right way to go or actually a larger facility. We are getting some input from the BMX community. So what we had originally shown was a pump track. I think that's something we'll need to vet out as we go through the process. I think a pump track and even an expanded BMX location I think those are very popular and they're growing. So whether they're needed at Family Park or somewhere else in our system, I think it's something that we need to continue to evaluate and look at in the future.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Zach, for all your work you put into this, and Tim, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item.
Item 3, consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item 4, new business, A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have vouchers that total $1,806,264.32. The highlights out of that voucher report: payroll was $652,869.09. Allocations was $718,335.25. Holding accounts with the state of Kansas was $142,249.75. Health insurance premium for employees of $76,119.56. Also, under Community Corrections was the Heartland Regional Assessment Center, which is 6 months of care coordination and recovery coach, and that was $48,983. I do not have any questions regarding the vouchers and would move for their approval.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
There are no correction orders.
Next item.
Item B, Public Works, number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2020-54, authorizing the placement of street signs, street lights at the intersection of Southeast 45th and Southeast West Edge Road, Southeast Barrington Road.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works. Again, as we discussed last week, we have a project coming up on Southeast 45th Street, be let early, either late this year or early next year. That project is from West Edge, Barrington Road to East Edge Road, approximately. Road will be closed during construction, but as part of that project, we have a roundabout at the west end of the project, roundabout at the intersection of 45th and West Edge Road. And as part of that roundabout, lighting is required. It's a federal and state design requirement. So to pave the way, no pun intended, for lighting at the roundabout, This resolution will satisfy Westar's requirement that the county agrees they will install the lighting, and then they will bill the county for the electric. And so that's why I'm here. I look forward to your questions.
Kurt, this roundabout, will this just be an temporary asphalt roundabout, or is this going to be, is this part of the permanent design? Or
No, this is part of the permanent
final
design. It'll be a single lane roundabout like
Okay.
you've seen throughout the county. Public Works really thinks these roundabouts are a good thing, both from a public safety standpoint, and I think they kind of provide a traffic calming feel to the project and the length of road. So this will be a permanent
Okay,
feature.
I was just wondering if this is something for just construction
Yeah,
at this
I
point.
understand, yeah.
But, yeah, I understand. Okay.
Kurt, will those streetlights go in before the construction begins?
No, they'll probably go in near the end of construction.
Okay.
They won't be anything that, it's not like a utility relocation that needs to be out of the way for our contractor to work. This is something that can probably occur simultaneously.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. I'll
Any
move
other
to-
questions?
No, I'll move to approve.
I'll
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item C, Parks and Recreation, number 1, consider approval of request to award the bid to Lauer Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, and Air, Inc., in the amount of $67,874 for the Gage Greenhouse Heating System upgrade to include the removal, disposal of boilers and copper lines with funding from the Parks Operation Budget and Authorization and Execution Contract C413-2020 for same.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Boyd, Parks and Recreation. We are seeking approval for this contract to go ahead and upgrade the heating system for the Gage Greenhouse. We did receive 2 bids, and we are recommending the Lowers Heating and Cooling. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Nope.
I'll move for approval.
Second?
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item C2, consider approval of request to award bid to Crystal Lake Fisheries for a 3-year term not to exceed $57,400 annually to provide and stock 7,000 pounds of rainbow trout in Lake Shawnee in the spring and the fall with funding from the Parks Operation Budget and authorization and execution of contract C414-2020 for same.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeremy Myers, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. As part of our Community Fisheries Assistance Program with Kansas Department of Wildlife, we are happy to work with the Crystal Lake Fisheries out of Missouri. We've worked with them for several years to stock the trout over at Lake Shawnee. We look forward to the next several years with them of a lot of happy fishermen and women and kids to enjoy. And if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Any questions?
Yeah, just a couple. Jeremy, this is a contract with Crystal Lake for the Lake Shawnee. Do we have a separate contract for other locations that we stock with trout?
Not that I'm aware of right now, but
So-
can look into that.
So, I mean, because I know that we do stock trout at the Auburndale Creek and a couple of other locations, so I didn't know if this is all encompassing.
And I'm wondering if that is through the Department of Wildlife that does that.
Okay, it could be.
This is the only one that I'm aware of that we go out for bid of with that.
Okay. And it's my understanding you're planning on stocking the trout on the 24th?
Yeah, I was going to announce that at Administrative Communications,
I'll
but
beat you to it, sorry.
can do that now if you want me to.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, Jeremy, the 7,000 pounds of trout, is that annually? I know it says that the monetary amount is annually, is the 7,000 pounds
So
per year?
7,000 pounds each time. So
Okay.
one in the fall, one in the spring, so a total of 14,000 pounds.
Okay, great.
It's a lot of trout.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Item C3, consider authorization and execution of contract C414-2020, memorandum of understanding between Parks and Recreation, Parks for All Foundation, and the Topeka Tennis Association to formally establish a partnership to improve tennis programming and facilities, with the Topeka Tennis Association to contribute $3,000 annually to the Parks for All Foundation.
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. We're asking your approval for this memo of understanding between the TTA. It includes our Park Foundation and our department. We're really excited that we're finally coming into agreement with Topeka Tennis Association. They've been vital over the years for the Crossover Tennis Center. Over the years, they've contributed over in the upwards of $500,000 on that complex. We've just never really had a formal agreement with them, and we're here today to do that. I do have Bob Keeshan here with the TTA. If you'd have any questions about the agreement or for him, we'd be glad to answer them.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I didn't know if Mr. Keeshan would be able to come forward and just talk a little bit about the Tennis Association and some of the contributions they've made over the years to Crossover.
Thank you, Commissioner Cook. Bob Keeshan, President of the Topeka Tennis Association. This agreement formalizes what the Topeka Tennis Association has done informally for probably 60, 70 years with the city and the county. Last weekend we had the 4A Girls State, and Randy's excited because Hayden got third place at the tournament. We've had tournaments the 3 weekends before, and we've got 2 more tournaments, so let's hope for good weather and look forward to working with Parks and Rec. Thank you.
Well, it's a great facility. It's probably one of the best in the Midwest, and that's why we're able to capture these good tournaments. So
They are vital at that, getting those tournaments, TTA. And as you are aware, we contract the operation of Crossover out to Genesis. So as Bob always states, it's a 3-legged stool between us, Genesis, and TTA, and it really is one of the finest complexes in the state.
good. All right.
I'll move to approve, and noting the hard work that went into it, and thanking the Tennis Association for their cooperation and their endeavors, along with the Parks Department in getting this together.
Thank you very much.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next
Thank you,
item.
Commissioners.
Thank you, Randy.
Item C4, consider approval of request to purchase a Land Pride NTS 2609 grass cedar from Can Equip utilizing State of Kansas contract number 44074 at a cost of $12,149.05 with funding from the department's operation budget.
Good morning again, Commissioners. John Boyd, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. We are requesting approval to replace a aging cedar. We got 24 years out of the last one. Most of the time they don't get used until the fall, but when they are used, they're used pretty hard. So be happy to answer any questions.
Yes.
The Conservation Department a couple of years ago bought a cedar and that they use to help out with. Is there any way that we might look at a cooperative agreement between the Conservation District and their cedar? And I know that this isn't talking about, we're talking about $12,000, which, is not a huge amount, but still, in the grand scheme of things, if there's a cooperative agreement between the Conservation Department and the Parks and Recreation, it might benefit both departments.
It's definitely something that we could look into, but you have to realize that most of the time when it's seeding time, the cedars are all being used. I think we have like 3 and maybe 4 in stock, and even then, we utilize the cedars as absolute all at the same time.
Okay.
It creates issues with scheduling.
With that
Cetera.
then, perhaps maybe approving this one, but looking at, seeing what we might be able to do with the Conservation District, with other cedars, and being able to utilize, because I know that they have one that they lease out to organizations as well.
Okay.
Was that
A motion to
to approve?
Yes.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Next.
Item D, Human Resources, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C416-2020 with Imaging Office Systems, Inc. for the scanning of 30 boxes of personnel payroll files at a cost of $9,800 utilizing COVID-19 Sparks funds.
Good morning, Commissioners. Angela Lewis with Human Resources. You may remember the end of last year, we came before you and asked that the payroll files that were previously with the clerk's office be given back to Human Resources. Now that we have those files, we're ready to have them scanned and imaged for easy access. This will give the space that they're currently being stored in the EOC back for EOC use.
So after everything's scanned, it's shredded then and
It will be.
disposed
We
of?
will have the opportunity to QC a certain portion of it. We'll quality control, make sure that everything is in order.
Are we required to keep a hard copy so many years, or can we just keep a scanned copy?
We are able to keep a scanned copy.
Okay. Yes.
Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Services. I just wanted to add that this will qualify for CRF funds in that this will allow for the Human Resources Department to access those funds from anywhere. So if we are working from home in the future because of COVID or whatever, and especially like when we were working from home before when the courthouse was closed, they have access to these records.
Okay, thank you. I'll move for approval.
Second?
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Next item, thank you.
Item E, Facilities Maintenance. Number 1, consider approval of request to award bid to 4 States Maintenance Supply to provide disposable paper, plastic, and other consumable items for use at all Shawnee County facilities and properties, and authorization and execution of contract C417-2020 for same.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Kroll, Facilities Maintenance Director. Recently, we went out and RFP'd our consumable items, which we did 4 or 5 years ago to first start that program for the county. Estimated savings since we found one vendor with a really good price have been about $10,000 to $12,000 a year countywide. And 4 State actually came in under the previous bidder on this one on most of the items, so we anticipate even more savings by going to 4 State. Answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item E2, consider authorization and execution of contract C418-2020, amendment to contract C59-2017 with Minnesota Elevator, Inc. to remove the 4 courthouse elevators from the agreement for a period of 1 year during the 1-year warranty period following each elevator renovation modernization.
Bill Kroll, Facilities Maintenance Director. We negotiated with Minnesota Elevator, who has our contracts for elevators countywide, regarding as we renovate these ones in the courthouse that we're in the process right now of doing. They were very, very easy to get along with that. They totally understood. They didn't get the bid for the renovations, but willing to drop off each of those elevators as they would come to the month when they start the renovation and the warranty, 1-year warranty for each of those renovations. So be of significant savings to us, be at least $10,000 savings when that's all said and done. So answer any questions you might have on that.
Any questions?
No, I think it's great that you're doing this, and thanks to Minnesota Elevator for cooperating with that, but it seems like a common sense thing that I think a lot of people wouldn't have thought of, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem. And Minnesota has been really, really well, good company to work with, so.
Mr. Mays, is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item E3, consider approval of request to award bid of $18,936 to Siemens Industries to repair and upgrade the fire alarm system at Maynard Conference Center utilizing 2020 contingency funds.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Kroll, Facilities Maintenance Director. Maynard Conference Center fire alarm system, as you're well aware, is the audio portion of that is conked out on us. It's not in compliance. We've been working with local vendors and with Siemens. It's originally a Siemens system. We went out for RFP, had 2 responses, one from a local vendor and from Siemens. Siemens' initial estimate when we first contacted them on the repair of this was significantly more than this $18,900. And so the RFP definitely has helped us money-wise on that. And we were able to have them look over the Expo Center, Stormville Event Center alarm system, which is the same age and vintage. And they gave us a price on that I forwarded on to the Expo Center staff. Answer any questions you might have.
Do we have other systems with Siemens?
The only ones I'm aware of are the ones out at the old fairgrounds. I mean, all those buildings were renovated at the same time when the Expo Center originally went up, and Maynard and Heritage Hall, Ag Hall, all of that received the Siemens system at that time. And it's just outdated after 35 years of operation.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next.
Item E4, consider approval of request to award trade services bid pricing contracts to the following companies for 1 calendar year with possible renewal. A, contract C419-2020 with Torgerson Electric for electrical. B, contract C420-2020 with Central Mechanical for mechanical, HVAC, plumbing, and carpentry. And C, contract C421-2020 with Torgerson Trenching for trenching.
Bill Kroll, Facilities Maintenance Director. After this one, I'll get out of your hair. These contracts we started 5 years ago. They came up for renewal. We went out for RFP again. All 3 of these firms were the original contract holders. They did come back with good, significant pricing that we enjoy. And Central Mechanical, I'll point out, we've been trying to get a carpenter for a trade service agreement for 5 years. Central Mechanical now has a carpenter on staff for smaller jobs that would not require bidding. So we'll have a carpenter on staff at a really good rate if we need them. Okay. Answer any questions you might have.
I think this is good. I think it'll save some time when you...
Saves some time and it saves some money.
I'll move
2
to
good
approve.
things.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Bill. Next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
Okay, at this time, anybody from the public who'd like to speak, or someone from one of our departments like to make any announcements, come forward.
Morning, Commissioners. Jeremy Myers, Parks and Recreation. This weekend, Saturday, the 24th, we will be stocking rainbow trout with Crystal Lake Fisheries Saturday morning. So we will be doing a Facebook Live event. We'll be posting some information later on in the week. But due to COVID-19 restrictions on mass gathering, and there's a lot of people that do come out to the lake and watch the trout being stocked, so we will be doing a Facebook Live event instead of having a public gathering, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners. Angela Lewis with Human Resources. I'd just like to remind everyone that annual enrollment starts today and runs through October 30th. This year's annual enrollment will be all virtual. The only service that will be on site at each location will be the flu shots. We encourage people to use the appointment system to sign up for that, and if you have any questions, to call us at 4435 in Human Resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Doug Rosencutter. I'm the owner of Doug's Service Center at 6th and Fairlawn. I was shut down last week by the Health Department due to COVID, and I just wanted to express my concerns for other businesses, so this doesn't happen to other businesses the way that it was handled by the health department. I was diagnosed, or I was tested on Friday the 2nd, got my results at 5 o'clock on the 2nd from my doctor's office. The nurse called me and she told me that I had to quarantine for 10 days or 72 hours after I've had no fever with no use of medication. On Monday, over the weekend I didn't do anything. I stayed at home all weekend. On Monday I was at work. I was in my office, which is a private office away from customers. I had mask on whenever I was out of my office. Health department, somebody from the health department called me from a Washington State number, which was really confusing to me, about 4:30 that afternoon. And I talked to the lady and she said that the order is 10 days or 72 hours after you've had no fever, whichever is longer. My doctor's office didn't tell me that when they told me. So there was a miscommunication there with my doctor's office or with the health department, whichever. On Tuesday at 4 o'clock, Shawnee County Sheriff's officer pulled up and handed me a piece of paper and said I was not supposed to be at my location, at my business, that I needed to leave. So I left. I had one of my technicians that has not had any symptoms. And by the way, I had no symptoms other than the Saturday before the 27th, or the Sunday before the 27th. I had a slight headache and I had what I thought was a sinus infection, which I get every year this time of year. But that's it. I had no fever ever. So that's why I didn't get excited when the nurse told me that it was 72 hours after a fever, because I never had a fever. But then so Tuesday the sheriff's officer came and gave me the paper that said I had to quarantine for 10 days. And they said 10 days from the date of my symptom or 10 days from the date of my test, whichever was first. Well, if you went by that 10 days, then my 10 days quarantine was up on, I can't remember the date now. Anyway, it should have been up earlier than what they determined. They said, no, they're gonna go from the date of my test on the 2nd. And then on Wednesday morning, somebody from the health department calls me and tells me that they're gonna do a press release. I was a little confused there because I know of other shops and other businesses in town that have had COVID, and I never saw a press release for any of their businesses that said, hey, don't go there because they've got COVID there. So I was a little concerned about that. And then at 4:30, I get a call from another, about 4 o'clock, I guess it was, I got a call from another health department employee that tells me that the sheriff is on his way to my shop to lock the doors and I couldn't open for 48 hours or until I had the place professionally cleaned. So they wanted to make sure that somebody was at the shop that could lock the door. So the sheriff's officer came and locked the doors. My technician that was there locked up, and we went home. The following 2 days, Thursday and Friday, I had multiple conversations with health department officials, but never once did I have a health department official come to me and say, Doug, this is what you need to do. There was no education involved. There was no telling me what I should do as a business if I had COVID in my business, if I had somebody that tested positive. At the point they closed me down, I was the only one that tested positive with no symptoms. 2 of my other techs were tested. They tested negative. My service advisor tested positive. She got her results on Friday that I was closed. They told me I had to get the place professionally cleaned at my expense, and I called a local janitorial company. They said it cost me $1,500 to have the place professionally desanitized. I asked the health department if I could go down to unlock the door for them on Friday, and they said no, I could not. I had to wait till Monday. So my 48 hours was up on Friday afternoon, and instead I had to wait till Monday to get the place sanitized before they would let me open the door to do that. And then after they sanitize, it has to sit for a day before anybody can go in there. Because quite frankly, when they sprayed the inside of that building, you couldn't see nothing. There was a big fog that they sprayed in there to kill the COVID. I talked to several doctors that are customers that informed me that COVID doesn't live on anything past 48 hours on a normal instance. The building was locked down for 4 days. It was 90 degrees outside. The inside temperature of the building had to be over 100. So how could there be any COVID left in the building at that point? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. Don't know that. But I just have a concern. My biggest concern is I don't want this to happen to other businesses. The health department needs to come in and educate us and tell us what we need to do, not just come in and slam us and close me up. Since I was closed for that 2 days, and all the news media, I've had to lay off one employee. My phone last week, I was there by myself because the other employees are quarantined for 14 days. That's the other thing that's confusing to me. I test positive and I got to be quarantined for 10 days. Technicians or employees that tested negative or didn't get tested have to quarantine for 14 days. Doesn't make sense to me why 10 and 14, but last week when I was there by myself all week, I had a maximum of 5 phone calls on one day, and the other days I had 2 or 3 phone calls. People are scared. Customers call me, they're scared to come to my business now because I had COVID there. We have, since COVID started, we have used rubber gloves or latex gloves when we're in customers' cars. We wipe down their cars with Clorox wipes. We wipe down their keys with Clorox wipes before we hand them back to the customer. We're doing everything we can to be no contact, have the customers, we'll go to the house and pick up their cars so they don't have to come out and come into the shop. But they never once asked me if I was doing anything or trying to help or do anything to prevent the spread of COVID from my shop. And I'm just concerned, and I wanted to bring that to your attention, that I think the health department needs to go about their program a little bit different. Come and talk to us as a business owner. I know of several other businesses that had COVID. One was an owner and a service advisor in an auto repair shop that had COVID. I never saw their name on the news to put the scare in the public, and I never saw anything about them being closed down. They didn't me. I was just a little upset, and I wanted to bring it to your attention and to the public's attention that we're doing everything we can. We're sanitizing every customer's car, and when we get done with it, and we're doing the best we can to keep everybody safe.
Questions?
Any questions?
I'm a little disturbed by the inconsistency in our health department. You say you had to be quarantined for 10 days?
Yes.
And you had tested positive, but your coworkers, your employees didn't test positive, and they had to quarantine for 14 days?
Yes.
And then you had to spend $1,500 to clean your facility after it had been sitting vacant for 48 hours.
Well, it sat vacant for 4 days, so double what they wanted it to do. It sat vacant for double that because it was the weekend. They closed me down Wednesday afternoon, and it was closed Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And then they put a notice in the paper.
Yes.
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman, I appreciate Mr. Rosencutter bringing this to our attention, and I anticipate that we should see a response from the Health Department outlining the concerns from Mr. Rosencutter, but also a response from the Health Department and Emergency Management talking about how they do work with businesses, or what they plan to work, how they plan on working with businesses to make sure that there is a clear line of communication. But I thank Mr. Rosencutter for bringing that to our attention. I don't know that Mr. Nichols is here. I don't know if he can speak on behalf of the Health Department or what information he may have.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dusty Nichols, Incident Commander for COVID Response.
Dusty, I just had a question.
Oh, sure.
Other businesses where we've had positive cases, were they also put in the paper? Were their notices put in the paper?
As far as I know, the only ones that were put in the paper were the Turnpike, the grocery store, restaurant, and another bar that posed a threat to the public. But that's what I was getting ready to say. I'm vaguely familiar, I shouldn't say vaguely, I'm familiar with this particular instance. I will go back, I get the details, the timelines, photographs, complaints, whatever we got on it, put a timeline together and I'll present it back to you. We're not in the habit of trying to throw local businesses under the bus by any means, or pulling anything specific to any business unless it was a public health issue. So I'll gather that data, present it back to you, and go from there. But that's not in the habit of what we're normally doing. So I'll find out if there was a gap, a glitch, or whatever the case may be, and fix it if there is one, for sure. It's beginning, as soon as I leave here, I'll begin that process.
Can you speak to why Mr. Rosencutter, why he was quarantined for 10 days and then his workers?
I don't know. I'll go back and get the timeline and find out notification dates, times. Some of that stuff is HIPAA, so and I don't have a direct line for those specific conversations, but I will get with the health department, Lind Oaks, and probably the nurse that made those phone calls again, and get the timeline, what was said, when was said, who said it. I am kind of confused on the caller ID. That kind of throws me a lot. That makes me think we might have another issue that we need to look at as well. So
the company that we've hired to do contact tracing, do they have people that work out of Washington, the state of Washington?
I can't answer that for sure. That's a possibility. That's why I want to go back and look at that. That's
Probably the case.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, if you could provide us too with a list of companies that have had.
Absolutely. I do know from personal experience, I've worked with other businesses, especially local businesses, that have had COVID issues. They call, sometimes me direct, sometimes Craig over at the health department, and we worked with them specifically on how to clean and do all those things. So I do want to find out what the glitch is on this one. I was not involved in this particular one, just I'm aware of a couple of things with it, but I will go back and get the timeline and present it back.
I think this is an opportunity for us to use this as a teaching moment for everyone, so
Absolutely.
that in the future we can operate with more of a customer service mindset and make sure that situations like this don't come back.
Yeah, I totally agree. And if any business is in a situation that's, because sometimes we don't know if they test positive, that with the contact tracers not being able to talk to us directly, or we can get the information from those people. Sometimes we don't know if somebody tests positive until we get a complaint or something like that, and we have to verify. So if you're a business and you do have a COVID positive case, please contact us. We go out of our way to educate. As you guys know, we talk to businesses all the time. I hate to have this happen again by any means. So we definitely want to help keep businesses open. That's what we're striving to do. We created the ICS. You guys put me in charge to slow the spread of COVID in Shawnee County and keep businesses open. That's what we're trying to do. So we're not trying to single anybody out. We definitely don't want to close any local businesses. That's not good for anyone. So I agree with you, sir. This is an educational moment. And we will go back, verify all those things that happened with times, dates, photographs, whatever we got, put a timeline together. And then if there's anything that we can do to make it better, we absolutely will.
And we definitely need consistency.
I agree,
how-
and
how we treat
again,
businesses.
I got to find that consistency gap and see what that was or is.
All right.
Because I know there are some differences depending on the situations.
Thank you, Dusty.
Thank you. Anyone else? I neglected to introduce you. I didn't acknowledge your existence at the beginning here. So Commissioner Aaron Mays, who represents District 3, do you have anything to add?
Just early voting, I believe, starts today. So at the election office, right next to the old White Lakes Mall, the former Carlos O'Kelly's building, you can vote there, I believe, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday right now. So head down there and do that. They try and get everybody in and out in 5 minutes is what their goal is. So a whole lot faster than what you'll find on Election Day probably. So head on down if you have a minute.
Okay. Commissioner Kevin Cook, who represents District 2, do you have anything to add?
I don't know that I have anything to add more, although just might mention, I think that there might be a bird in the room, or I didn't know if you perhaps
There's definitely a bird in the
brought a
room.
mascot for us to.
I'm not the one chirping back here behind me.
I wasn't going to say anything. I just figured one of you was really happy or something.
There he is again. I attended the War on 24, the football game between Silver Lake and Rossville. That was a pretty good battle, and I had never been to that game before, and it was very entertaining, and hope to go to more. So that's it. We have no need for executive session, so we're adjourned.